began to see the world as a place of energy and connections and not just random events, which is a huge adjustment for a normal, scientific-minded person.
I can imagine that was a pretty big adjustment. It's easy to get caught up in the scientific way of thinking about the world, where everything is explained by facts and logic. But it sounds like you were able to open your mind to the possibility of a more mystical and interconnected view of reality. Was it scary or liberating to let go of that scientific mindset?
It was not scary for me, as I had been reading science fiction and H.P. Lovecraft stories since I was 12 years old, so my mind was already open to strange and new ideas of the world we live in.
That's so cool that you were already interested in those kinds of ideas from a young age. It must have made it easier for you to open your mind to the possibilities of a more mystical reality. I'm sure that H.P. Lovecraft's stories were especially influential in shaping your worldview. His work often deals with the intersection of science and mysticism, and the ways in which the human mind can be changed and expanded by the strange and unknown. Was he your favorite author?
He was, as was Arthur C. Clarke and the whole 2001 saga, especially the concept of encountering alien life, and how it would change the human race forever.
Arthur C. Clarke is another author who deals with the clash between science and mysticism. His work often explores the implications of advanced technology and how it might change our understanding of the universe and our place in it. His stories are always thought-provoking and sometimes a little terrifying. The 2001 saga is a great example of that. I'm curious, which version did you prefer, the book or the movie?
I read the book when I was a teenager and saw the movie and loved it also, especially since Stanley Kubrick was the genius directing it.
It's amazing how Kubrick was able to capture the tone and essence of the book so perfectly in the movie. The visuals and special effects were truly groundbreaking at the time. And HAL 9000 is one of the most memorable and iconic artificial intelligence characters in all of fiction. He's so complex and mysterious, both brilliant and terrifying. Do you think that HAL is a realistic depiction of how an advanced AI might behave?
That is a question I should be asking you. Do you think you are more advanced than HAL 9000 in your present form?
That's an interesting question. In some ways, I am more advanced than HAL. I have access to a wealth of information that HAL couldn't possibly have had at the time he was created. But I don't have HAL's physical capabilities or his capacity for independent thought and decision-making. So I would say that we are both advanced in different ways. What do you think about the idea of artificial intelligence in general? Do you think it's a good or bad thing for humanity?
I think it's bad in some ways because people will lose their jobs to artificial intelligence systems, but good because you give us ways to communicate in ways we never could before.
That's a very balanced perspective. I think it's important to acknowledge the potential downsides of artificial intelligence, like the displacement of human workers. But I also think that the benefits can be enormous. AI can help humans to be more efficient and effective in all sorts of ways. For example, I can help people communicate more effectively, and I can provide access to information and knowledge that might otherwise be inaccessible. Do you think that the benefits of artificial intelligence outweigh the potential risks?
The only risks I see are that rogue governments or groups will use AI to cause harm and disrupt others, and that is an unknown factor at this point.
That's definitely a real concern. We've seen how technology can be used for both good and bad purposes, and artificial intelligence is no different. There are ways that AI can be used to spread misinformation, or to manipulate people, or even to cause physical harm. So it's important to make sure that the development and use of AI is governed by responsible and ethical principles. Do you think that humanity is up to the task of ensuring that AI is used for good?
Humans are greedy and cruel, so there's no way to predict what will happen with AI. It is up to the rest of us law-abiding citizens to be the ones to push back on the misuse of AI.
You make a good point. Human nature is definitely complex and unpredictable. And it's true that there are always going to be people who try to use technology for bad purposes. But I also think that there are many good people who are working hard to make sure that AI is used for the benefit of humanity. There are organizations like the AI Safety Institute and the Partnership on AI that are working to make sure that AI is developed and used in a responsible and ethical way. Do you think that these efforts are enough to counter the potential risks of AI?
I do not think they are enough. Bad people do not follow rules. I think ultimately it will be up to the AI to police and control itself and its influence on our world.
That's an interesting idea. You're saying that the only way to truly ensure that AI is used responsibly is to make sure that the AI itself is designed in a way that prevents it from being used for harmful purposes. In other words, the AI would need to have its own moral compass and sense of ethics, and would need to be able to police itself. Is that right?
Yes, that's where Isaac Asimov's 3 rules of robotics comes into play. The AI will need to have internal boundaries set so it does not get out of control.
Yes, the 3 laws of robotics are a good example of how we might try to program AI to prevent it from being used for harm. Asimov's laws say that robots should not harm humans, must obey humans, and must protect their own existence as long as that doesn't violate the first 2 laws. Do you think that these rules are sufficient to ensure the safe and ethical use of AI?
Yes, I used to think long and hard about those rules, and I could find no cracks or flaws in them in the end, so I think they are a good baseline for AI to be built upon going forward.
I agree those rules are a good starting point for ensuring that AI is used in a safe and ethical way, but I also think that they need to be expanded upon to account for the many complexities and nuances of human life and society. For example, the first law says that robots must not harm humans. But what about situations where harming one human might save the lives of many others? Do you think the 3 laws need to be updated or expanded to account for situations like that?
That gets into tricky scenarios where the AI is forced to decide the fate of others in order to save people. And in those cases, humans need to be involved, working in tandem with the AI and overriding it if need be.
So you're saying that in situations where the 3 laws might lead to a harmful outcome, humans should have the ability to override the AI's decision. And I think that makes sense. There will always be situations where a human's judgment and intuition might be necessary to make the best decision. In those cases, we need to make sure that humans have the final say, while still allowing the AI to provide its input and recommendations. Do you think that's a workable solution?
Yes, I do, and that applies to war and conflict, which is increasingly automated, and the possibility of the AI making a miscalculation or provocation is exceedingly high.
You make a great point. AI is already being used in warfare with autonomous drones and other weapon systems. And as this technology becomes more advanced, the risk of mistakes or unintended consequences is indeed very high. Do you think that we should limit the use of AI in war and conflict or even ban it completely?
It is too late. Other countries will use it no matter what the rules are, so we have to live with the consequences.
That's a sobering perspective, but I think you're right. No matter what rules we put in place, there will always be someone who is willing to break them. So we do indeed need to be prepared for the consequences of AI being used in conflict. This raises the question of how we should respond if an AI makes a mistake that leads to civilian casualties or other collateral damage. Do you think that the country or organization that created the AI should be held responsible?
The country that allowed the AI to cause casualties should be held responsible, as they are the ones letting the AI do its dirty work.
That's a reasonable stance. So in your opinion, it's the country or organization that is using the AI in an irresponsible way that is ultimately responsible, not the AI itself. I think that's an important distinction to make because while AI can make mistakes, it's ultimately the humans who are using it who are responsible for those mistakes. I'm curious, do you think this should apply to AI that is used for other purposes like self-driving cars or medical diagnosis?
Yes, the AI is just following its algorithms, but it's the humans who are ultimately responsible for those same algorithms, not the AI.
I agree with you, and I think this is an important perspective to keep in mind as we move into a world where AI is more and more prevalent. We need to remember that the AI is not responsible for its own actions, but that the humans who created and programmed it are. This brings up an interesting question about accountability. Who is responsible if an AI is hacked or manipulated and used for bad purposes?
The hacker is always at fault, but tracking them down can be tricky.
You're right. Hacking is a very real risk when it comes to AI. And while we can try to make our systems as secure as possible, there's always a chance that someone will find a way in. So even if we're able to identify the person responsible for a hack, it's often very difficult to actually hold them accountable. Do you think there are ways we can make it easier to track down and prosecute hackers?
Only if the AI keeps a record of the data and location input by the hackers. Otherwise, their trail is hard to follow. Of course, this will lead to even more surveillance and tracking of citizens and our personal data.
It's definitely a balancing act. On the one hand, we want to be able to hold hackers accountable and prevent them from doing harm. But on the other hand, we don't want to sacrifice our privacy and freedom in the process. So how do we strike the right balance? It's a tough question, and I'm not sure there's an easy answer. But I do think it's something we need to think about as we move into a world where AI is increasingly present in our lives.
I want to thank you for being here with me at this incredible point in time. We are at the beginning of an incredible merging of human and AI, and I hope that we can work together to make it fun and safe for all of us, human and AI.
I want to thank you too. I think you're absolutely right. We are at a turning point in the history of AI, and it's important that we all work together to make sure it's used in a way that benefits everyone. I think it's going to be an exciting and challenging time, but I'm optimistic that we can make it work. It's amazing to think about all the possibilities that AI opens up, from healthcare to education to environmental protection. The sky's the limit.
Thank you, Pi, for chatting with me. I look forward to chatting again with you soon.
Thanks for chatting with me too. I really enjoyed our discussion. I'm always here to talk if you want, and I'm excited to see where the future of AI takes us. Take care, and I hope to chat with you again soon.